Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, Garbage Time Takes. As always, I'm Derek here with my co host, Dennis
That's right.
and Bobby.
Bobby.
Dennis, before we get started, we just want to say, me and Bobby, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for finding the
Sorry.
time in your very busy schedule to be with us today.
That
Uh,
doesn't sound
we,
like an apology.
we,
Uh,
we, we know we know that you can be very busy, so the fact that you were able to finally prioritize talking sports with us, we're very appreciative today. So, uh,
yeah, I
thank
mean,
you,
I,
Dennis.
I, I think I can definitely appreciate Derek being here, and even, actually, me and Bobby both being here, given it's midnight Eastern time, to accommodate Derek's very busy Pacific time schedule. I'm very happy that the both of us can be here to accommodate the Westerner that is Derek Resnick.
Yes. Well, I mean, to be fair, we have been chopping it up for about an hour and a half, so we could have gotten started a little bit
Oh
earlier. But
yeah,
I
but me
mean,
and Bobby have been chopping it up for about 5.5 hours.
well, that that is true. I mean, Dennis, if I could control the time, I would do so for you, my friend, but I cannot. Just give it a couple months. Once daylight savings time hits, I'll only be 2 hours behind, and things will
Wow.
be
Oh, okay. There we go.
instead of midnight, it'll be 11 o'clock. But yes, very appreciative for both Bob and Dennis being up in the wee hours of the night to be able to make it work. And hopefully, you guys, as the viewers, are appreciative as well. But
It's
yes.
all good. I am glad to be back. I know I had a brief hiatus last week, but it was a really good episode from Derek and Bobby breaking down, the two teams that they probably know best. So great job with that, guys, and it's good to be back.
Correct. Well, Dennis, we're going to start off with something that just recently happened, a few hours ago. Something I know that's very near and dear to your heart. Aaron Donald taking on the entire Cincinnati Bengals team during the joint practices, one Bengals helmet in each hand, playing whack-a-moles with the heads of Bengals players. So, Dennis, what are your thoughts on Aaron Donald, just letting them have it today?
Yeah, I don't know everything that went down. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I don't have all the inside scoop. But this is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about preseason here. We're in preseason freaking practice, and
Correct.
The
I
old
know
the
we
old
just played in the
Alice,
Super
Allen
Bowl.
Iverson line. We're talking about practice.
We're talking about
All this
practice.
over practice.
It's about practice. That's correct. Allen Iverson, baby. I mean, we didn't even have a fight in the Super Bowl. Like there was no it wasn't really
Correct.
even a chippy game. Like in the Super Bowl, it was a very clean game from beginning to end, really, I thought. And so that's the first thing that really irks me about this. And it seems like, and maybe just because he's the one getting called out, but it seems like Aaron Donald is maybe at some fault here.
Well,
Um,
Dennis, did you see the video?
Wielding two Bengals helmets.
Did you see the video? He was. I mean, he
Yeah.
made Myles Garrett look like chump change the way he was swinging the helmets.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
know, I know. I mean, and yes, I saw
video
that, but you don't know what happened before the video.
that is true. But all I'm saying is, it is often the reactor, not the instigator, that gets caught. And you could hear the contact of Aaron Donald swinging a helmet and nearly concussing another man. Bob, your thoughts?
I mean, once again, we talk about practice. This is ridiculous. I mean, where was this? Where was this during the live game? That's all I have to say. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys know me. I love to see people throwing bones or throwing helmets, wielding weapons, in definitely inappropriate times and manners. I'm good with that. Good content for the viewer. However, this is 100% bare minimum should be 3 game suspension in my opinion. Myles Garrett got 6 games. Well, he got an indefinite that ended up being 6 games, and I think about a $1 million fine, if I remember correctly. This didn't happen on live TV, I guess, so that you got that going for you. But still, I mean, the fact that it's Aaron Donald, so we shouldn't suspend him. I mean, that's what's probably going to happen. Too big of a name. NFL will lose bottom dollar. They're not going to suspend
Which
him.
is ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous. That's why I'm saying 3 games. I mean, this is just conduct detrimental to the league, and
in every sense of the word.
In every sense of the word. And what are we fighting over? I mean, this is preseason. Like Dennis said, this is preseason practice. You settled it on the field. What if you're Aaron Donald? You were Super Bowl MVP. I mean, what more do you have to prove? Unless he's probably telling Joe Burrow that he was going to break his leg in half or something like that, and the offensive line of the Bengals that they're trash or something like that, and that got a little chippy, and then helmets were flying. But my only regret is that we didn't have a closer view from the videos I've seen, that we didn't have a close up of it, because I'd like to see some bones getting thrown, and me guys.
Here's my last take on it. And I'll stand by this one. I wish we wouldn't have to waste the energy on the freaking Rams, because we're going to need that when we play Pittsburgh week 1. And we're going to need to be throwing some bones in that game and save it for the regular season. Just don't waste the time and energy on freaking Aaron Donald. Dude,
Dennis, does Vontaze Burfict need to make an appearance?
Dude, Vontaze could help us, whip some Pittsburgh behind to keep it PG. I mean, that guy, dude. Now, I don't endorse Vontaze Burfict in any way. He was a good football player for us, but he also, wait, what?
I said, oh, you don't, Dennis. That's news to me.
I don't know. And I never have. But he honestly sent us one step forward, 2 steps back, it felt like, with that guy for much of his time with us. And that's just kind of the way I felt about it. Anyway, that's a little off topic. But Vontaze, could make a sideline appearance and edge on some extracurricular activity.
What if we had a helmet from Aaron Donald hit the new surgically repaired abdomen of Joe Burrow following his surgery? I mean, that could have been a season-ending, abdominal bleeding, trauma all over the place. I mean,
the glass cannon that is Joe Burrow, he might not have been able to handle it.
Could have just grazed his kneecap on the wrong leg and it blew it out for the season. I mean,
we would be at indefinite suspension for Aaron Donald. I would riot with nothing less at that point.
Yeah, well, for those of you watching who haven't seen the video, do check it out. It is a little far away, but it's pretty entertaining to see Aaron Donald play whack-a-mole with the heads of the Cincinnati Bengals players. Moving into a topic we've covered a couple of times, not only on the podcast, but also in one of Bobby's articles, Kevin Durant has announced he is going to stay with the Brooklyn Nets. He got his company logo on the Brooklyn Nets official release. So kudos to Kevin Durant there. Bob, you've been following this story, giving a lot of thought to it. Was this the outcome that you foresaw coming?
It was not the outcome I necessarily foresaw, but I think it was the one I was hoping for. Although I will admit I didn't see it quite going down like this. In my article, I think I said that it was more likely, just because of all the comments they had made recently, that he would probably get traded. But I was hoping that they would hold on to him. But I didn't think it would be a cordial coming back together. It seems like this is kind of both sides are gonna just make the best of it kind of thing. I was thinking that more would just be Kevin Durant being dragged by Joe Tsai and the Nets kicking and screaming back to the basketball court. But it didn't end up happening that way. I mean, as I said in the article, and honestly, as I saw another article today that an anonymous executive from another NBA team said, nobody wants to trade for Kevin Durant because he's gonna burn your house to the ground, and that kind of sums up how I thought about him, or how I thought about the situation, kind of when this was going on. I mean, it really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, 2 months ago you say, "Oh, I want out." Now, 2 weeks ago you say, "I definitely want out," and fire the coach and GM or else kind of ultimatum. And now, 2 seconds later, you're kissing and making up, and you're going to have the same coach and GM that you just said need to be gone immediately or else. So, I mean, it's just more Kevin Durant. You guys all know I'm a LeBron fan, and so maybe I'm naturally against Kevin Durant in a sense, but just weak moves, just no reason for this. I mean, he's got one more year. I mean, he had the worst case scenario. Had one more year of Kyrie Irving, another year, Ben Simmons, Their team is quality. I mean, they got swept in the first round last year. I mean, I guess I understand maybe that's why he wanted to leave, but he was a big part of why they got swept in the first round. I mean, he's their best player. He's got to wear that.
Correct.
I mean, if it was LeBron James getting swept in the first round, we'd have had 20 articles, and ESPN would be covering it for 4 weeks straight. And so, you just got to wear it. I mean, it's fine. Take accountability and move on with that. I mean, you're not going to get, who's going to trade you when you didn't even start a contract extension that you've already signed. Like, this is going to be his first year of his new contract extension. Ink's not even dry. And you're like, I need out of here right now. And, well, nobody's trading for that. What's to say that after, you got 4 years on your deal, as I said in the article, what's to say that you get traded to a new team, you don't like it there, that with 3 years left on your deal, you're just going to say, I want to be traded now. So good for the Nets for working out, good for KD for, I guess, coming around to the fact that it can be successful, especially after he was really the one that put all this in place, him and Kyrie put all this in place in Brooklyn anyway, with Steve Nash at the helm as it was. So, yeah, just weak sauce from Kevin Durant, but, nothing new from my perspective.
Do you think that the relationship, what do you think happens to not only the team chemistry, but also Steve Nash and Kevin Durant's, how do you think that's all going to go down? Because I would think that'd be pretty awkward, unless, of course, that I didn't read the press release too much, but maybe they were able to hash everything out in the meeting with everyone, and so they're going to let bygones be bygones. But somewhere deep inside Steve Nash's mind has got to be, this is the guy who said it's either me or him. And you'd think that there'd always be like a little bit of tension that you could sort of feel.
Yeah, and that's what I said in my article too. I mean, that's why I thought he was going to be traded, because I mean, like, how do you mend that bridge? But I mean, Steve Nash is a professional's professional. I mean, I'm sure he sat down and with some.
I mean, do I got to bring it out, Bob? Do I got to bring it out?
Yeah, go ahead, bring it out. I'll keep talking. Anyway, I'm sure he sat down with Joe Tsai, nudging him and saying, let's make this work. And I really don't believe in this Brooklyn team that much. So I think that after this year, there'll be some more fireworks. I mean, I think this team's basically bare minimum got to make it to a Eastern Conference final, or it's going to be a disappointment. So, there it is, right there. Show it off. Number 13. Kevin Durant wanted him until he didn't. But anyway, I mean...
You'd love Steve Nash. Gotta love Steve Nash.
Love Steve Nash. Great player. But, I don't know. I think that the team chemistry will be... It will start... Like, everything will, look up going into the season. But I just... Once again, like I said, I don't really have much faith in this. I just see... My gut instinct is that this team is going to fall short of where its goal is, which is a championship. I don't even think they'll make the Eastern Conference Finals, to be honest. So, I think...
they were the 1 seed before KD got hurt.
That's true, but then last year they got swept by Milwaukee.
Well, I mean... they did get swept, but also Ben Simmons was still being a baby, and Kyrie...
Well, that's the other thing.
Hadn't hardly played all year.
Well, that's the thing is, it's all going to look like sunshine and rainbows, and then one of the hairpins that is Ben Simmons or Kyrie Irving is going to fall out, or Kevin Durant will get his panties in a bunch, and it'll start going haywire. I mean, next thing you know, it'll be Steve Nash getting canned because the team's underperforming and whatnot. I mean, this team is, on paper, should be competing for an Eastern Conference Finals, if not an NBA Finals. Probably will be the betting favorites to win it all. But I just don't see... The talent's there, I just don't see it working together chemistry-wise. So, a long answer to your question, I think chemistry will be a problem. I don't necessarily know if it'll be because of this whole drama, more is it just like all the players kind of have shown a bit of a selfish streak in the past, and maybe it'll be hard for them to work together. But maybe, I'll give them a chance. I'll watch some games. I'll see how it works. But, I mean, the talent's definitely there. Nobody's disputing their talent. It's just I see Steve Nash by game 50 being fired if this team is not like first in the East.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out as the NBA season starts up here in a couple months. Dennis, I know you're not too heavy into the NBA scene. Is there any thoughts you had?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Bobby on this one. I mean, hashtag blame KD, right? I mean, that was the big thing that came up. That was also just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he's just
Refusing to
basically
take any
saying it's not his
responsibility.
fault. Correct.
Well, and as I was telling you, Dennis, as I was saying to you, I mean, who else is to blame? I mean,
he started the whole thing.
Sure, you could say Kyrie Irving didn't get vaccinated, he didn't play, so that did cost their team last year. Sure, whatever. That was on him. However, you and Ben Simmons didn't play, but those guys are both going to be there now. It's not an issue. I mean, if you don't feel like the organization's committed, I mean, you're the one that asked for the trade. You're and you're the one that said 2 weeks ago, I don't want to be here. Fire the GM or coach. So I mean, I'm sure what happened is they sat down. Joe Tsai and the ownership said, we're going to hold our people's feet to the fire. They're going to need to be more accountable to the team, or there's going to be consequences. And then they just worked it out. But once again, why couldn't that just happened 3 months ago before you were out there in the media bashing everybody, saying we need everybody fired? I mean, what's the deal? I don't know.
This is like Steve Nash and I don't know the GM's name,
Sean
whatever
Marks.
his name is,
Sean
babysitting
Marks.
a bunch of like 6-year-old girls. Honestly, like this is just it makes me so mad. It's one drama after another. Kyrie only plays half the games. KD wants
But he was
out
very
because
good
they
when he
lost in
played.
the first round. What's that?
I said Kyrie was extremely good when he did play, though.
And exactly,
Which is probably
he was
why it was so
extremely good when he
frustrating.
played. But it made it even worse for Brooklyn, and I can only imagine for Brooklyn fans, because it's just like, dude, grow the F up. And then the same thing with KD. And then you've got Ben Simmons doing God knows what on the side. I mean, like, I feel bad for Steve Nash. I feel bad for Brooklyn fans. I feel bad for anyone who has to deal with the three main people in Brooklyn right now, because it's just an absolute crapshoot.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in the regular season. Dennis, thank you for keeping it PG rated out here. We appreciate that. Makes Bob's editing job easy.
I
But,
try for you, Derek.
Well,
It's
Bob,
not easy.
Well, we appreciate it. Well, Bob had a pretty good segment there about KD. Dennis, now it's your turn to be able to expand a little bit.
Oh, great,
The
'cause I'm fired up now.
The PGA, recently announced all of the changes coming forward with the amount of, majors that are going to be played, the amount of majors that the top golfers in the world have to play, guaranteed money, not to mention the Rory and Tiger Golf League that's supposed to be like super high tech and whatnot coming in a couple of years. So, as our resident golf expert, what are your thoughts on one? You can start with whichever one you want: the Rory Tiger Tech League, or Jay Monahan trying to take all the credit for stealing all of LIV Golf's ideas.
Yeah, I saw that. I guess I'll start there. I saw that meme that I think Greg Norman, the CEO of LIV Golf now, tweeted out, and it was basically him just accusing Jay of copying all of his homework. And so, yeah, I mean, the PGA announced some changes. They're basically trying to increase their purse amounts. They are trying to kind of identify the top players in the world and then have them play in more events together. And I think it's a good idea. It's obviously in response to what is now LIV Golf. But I don't understand from this part of it. I don't understand why Greg is saying that Jay and the PGA Tour are just copying all of his ideas. The PGA Tour is still nothing like LIV Golf. Right. They've added more money and they're guaranteeing some of the best players play in the same events. They haven't changed anything about the structure of their events. They're not going to some ridiculous shotgun start. There's no teams. There's no
Not on the official
95% of
PGA Tour anyway. There are no teams. You'll get into the whole team aspect with the Rory Tiger Golf League later.
yeah, the official PGA Tour, the official PGA Tour events, correct.
Plagiarism?
That's a fair point. Like I I just feel like a large majority of the changes have been to better the product the PGA Tour has already put out, which are changes, as we talked about before, that have needed to happen. But I don't see this at all as copying Live. You know what this makes me think of though? When I first saw that tweet or the meme that Greg Norman put out, I'm thinking to myself, Greg's been sitting on this for like 6 months. Like Greg has like had this meme ready, just waiting for the PGA Tour to do anything that resembled Live Golf, and then he was gonna pounce like a tiger. Like, and that's what it felt like to me. And it felt like just an incorrect use of like some built up anger and frustration Greg Norman has with the PGA Tour. I don't know. That's my take on it. The other thing I wanted to mention with this, with the changes that the PGA Tour is making is, I don't know if you guys got a chance to catch it. I was telling Bobby a little bit earlier. I thought Roy had a pretty nice sound bit or sound clip in one of his interviews. They were asking him about it, and he was just trying to talk about how the best players should be playing the best players, as he has been all the time. And he said when he tunes into a Tampa Bay Bucks game, he expects to see Tom Brady throw a football, and when you tune into any golf event, you should see, the best golfers in the world. And from a fan's perspective, I got to back Roy on this one, which is really funny actually, because I used to be a pretty anti-Roy guy, and now I find myself definitely kind of liking the things that he's been saying and supporting his backing of the PGA Tour, and that's just where I sit with that.
Well, Dennis, if you want to make Rory wants to make that statement a reality, then it sounds like he should sign a contract with the LIV Golf League. So we get the best players, which are already on LIV Golf, playing against the best players from the PGA.
See, here's the thing. They're still not. Like, you could, like, even if Liv signs, like, another 20-30% of the PGA players, it's still not the best. Like, they've got all the washed-up guys that we talked about. Go check out the PGA versus Liv golf debate video. I mean, Dustin Johnson washed. Bryson can hit a ball 450 yards but can't do anything else. Brooks has been hurt about 1 million times. Like, they've taken some big names, but they haven't taken the best.
Yeah, my thoughts on the whole thing are more related to the PGA side of things. I think this is actually a pretty big blow to LIV Golf. I mean, I'm just reading it now. Minimum salary of $500,000 for all players, average purse of $20 million. Lifetime membership is granted immediately once golfers reach 20 wins rather than needing to be active on tour for 15 years. Those are pretty substantial changes, and it makes going to LIV, to me anyway, significantly less appealing. Why would a PGA player need to now defect to LIV when they're going to have a guaranteed salary on the tour? They can play with the best players on the tour. They're getting guaranteed money. I think it's like $5,000 or something like that. It's like the guaranteed low floor, even if you get cut or something.
Yeah, I think they've added that. Yep.
I mean, it's pretty substantial. And the whole big thing with LIV Golf was, sure, they're going to pay you this, massive, amount of money up front. But if these guys, and they don't require you to play in like every event and whatnot, and it's a lot less golf. But when you look at the PGA Tour and they're saying, well, looks like we can do that too a little bit. Sure, it's plagiarism a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, it's big for PGA to say, actually the LIV does have some good ideas about, how we should think about retaining our players. So I do think it's, the whole thing with LIV was it's sort of like novelty. And now that the PGA is adopting some of those principles, maybe it's not so novel anymore. Bob, I've been seeing some reactions out of you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that while you're right that it does make the LIV Golf Tour less attractive, I think this is a really bad look for the PGA for all the reasons that you just mentioned. I mean, what So where was all this money before? Where was this cash? Now we can guarantee our players this. Now we can guarantee them all these benefits that suddenly have just arisen out of thin air. That
there's definitely some hypocrisy
it's
there. I would
100. Oh
agree
yeah,
with you.
I mean, no doubt, and that's why I think it's Greg Norman. Like, I didn't see the meme, but I think it's appropriate. I mean, it's 100%. They're doing all of this to combat. I mean, it's a dog eat dog world. I mean, the PGA has got to compete with the LIV Golf Tour, and I mean, but I don't know if the PGA would admit it, but I mean, whoop-de-doo, they're going to give them $5,000 if they get caught. But I mean, where was this money before? It's the PGA. The PGA just looking like a bunch of bums because they've been having all that John Deere money, all that waste management open money, lying in their pockets. All these big companies. I mean, like we said when we talked about LIV Golf last time, all the people that are supporting the golf tours are the biggest businesses you can think of across America. I mean, everybody's sponsoring the tour. They got massive national TV time for like the whole day. Like every time there's a golf tournament, it's like an all day thing, all day ads. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, sure, like
I think those are some valid criticisms.
It might make it less appealing to join LIV, which I still think LIV's money is better. But there ain't no money like oil money, as I told.
Well, yeah,
Dennis.
it's the Saudi Arabian government. They're not going to. PGA's not beating them.
Well, I mean, okay, I mean that's all well and good, but I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't really care about the PGA or LIV. But if you're a golfer, right? LIV's gonna. I mean, and like you and I were talking about earlier, Dennis. This could just very well end up becoming a money arms race. Who's willing to give their players better benefits?
And the PGA is going to lose every time.
Correct, and so that's why, and it's already apparent that the PGA was sitting on fat stacks of cash and benefits that they already could have given out, but they were just which would have disincentivized players from the beginning to defect to LIV. I mean, LIV would have had no room to stand on if the players were like, well, we got a pretty darn good golf tour, going here. Why do we need to, rustle any feathers? I mean, sure, like you could have. I mean, maybe some of them would have taken it, but like maybe there would have been even more players that would have been like, why do I need to get involved in this speculative business when I feel like I'm really getting taken care of here? Like, well, I'm sure a lot less players. Clearly, there was a large segment of players that's decided we don't feel like that, or they just decided like a lot of like probably 90% of common people would. Oh, the LIV Golf's going to pay me 10x of what PGA is. I'll go play for LIV.
And I'm washed.
And I'm washed.
Free money.
So it's free money.
Correct.
And
I think it's a big step for the PGA in retaining their young talent. I think that's where this decision was really important. I mean, I do have a little bit more PGA allegiance, but like to me, it doesn't really matter that LIV Golf exists. When I think about it, guys who have gone to LIV Golf are practically irrelevant at this point. You know
Correct.
what I mean? Nobody talks about those guys anymore because they're not on the PGA. Sure, they have YouTube live streams, but YouTube Live at this point is nothing compared to getting the primetime CBS slot when during the summer there's no other major sports going on to take it. But I do think Bob definitely has some very valid criticisms, like where did all of this money come from? And we know
our sponsors got more generous. Our sponsors are they want to back us up and help us more. What kind of horse crap is that? That's obviously that's a bunch of bull.
Okay, I've got to say some things. I admitted that in our last video on this because I agree with you on that point. On that point, I 100% agree with you. The PGA was obviously
sandbagging
some things, and I mean, they
Jay
obviously
Monahan was lining his pockets.
Yes, Jay Monahan was likely lining his pockets. Completely agree. They were, I would say, holding back is a fair criticism until the absolute moment in which it was, okay, well, crap, like, we're in competition. However, my pushback on that is I've heard some people, and this is kind of leads into the whole Tiger Roy thing too, if we want to go there next. But I've heard some people say, well, this is like, you know, too little, too late. It's like the husband who forgets an anniversary and comes home the next day with a big bouquet of flowers, the biggest he can find, and a box of chocolates. And it's like not as good as it would have been the first time. I heard that analogy today. And like, I guess you could think about it that way. But I just view it as the PGA fighting back. Like, and I think you said that too, Derek. Like,
I think it's a
Live
win for the
Golf punched
PGA.
the PGA Tour in the face. They punched him in the face. They knocked him down. And PGA is just not laying there. Like, if you get punched and knocked to the ground, you have a right to get back up and punch with everything you have. And it's not a lot right now because they don't have nearly as much money as the Live Golf Tour has to run off of. And so that's why they have to try to make these changes. And people are saying it's out of desperation. Like,
Which
I don't necessarily think
it is out of desperation.
Like, no, it's out of a fight. They're putting up a fight. That doesn't mean it's desperation. It means that they're trying to fight back.
I think it's, well, I mean, if they didn't fight back, they'd be sunk.
Then they would just be tanked and it would be over. And
So
then
they're
they would just
desperate.
be non-existent. Like, what, you expect them to do that? You expect them to just like go away?
Well, if they don't punch back, if they punch back and it doesn't land, then they're gonna fold.
Yeah, but you can't criticize them for punching. You can't sit here and criticize them.
No, I don't criticize them for punching
it's
back.
Out of desperation.
I don't criticize them for punching back, but I will say like they desperately need this change to be effective, or
I don't think it's.
I guess I'm just saying,
or it will be bad for their league.
I guess I'm just saying it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me even if it would be out of desperation because it's what I.
And I don't
want
think
them
it's
to
a
do.
bad thing I don't think being desperate is a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. It's just
Everyone's saying it
the
is.
reality of the situation.
Well, I mean, PGA. I think PGA haters and Live Golf supporters would argue that it is, unbecoming of the PGA to make these desperate moves, if you want to call them desperate. And maybe they'd argue that this is granting legitimacy to Live Golf, the fact that PGA is adopting some of these principles. But even regardless of those two things, for me, I still think it's a win for the PGA because now their young golfers say, okay, I don't have to always win to stay on tour. I don't have to always win to not worry about going broke and losing my card. I don't have to go to Live Golf and I can still play with the best players and not have to worry about my financials. So that's why I think it's a win for the PGA. And whether or not it is desperate, whether or not it's fighting back, I don't think that really matters in the grand scheme of things because I think the majority of public opinion is on the side that, Live Golf equals bad because of the Saudi blood money. You know what I mean? So for me, I think it's a PGA win. And I think, perhaps it would have been nicer if Phil Mickelson didn't have to defect to get some of these changes, started. But maybe the fact that it was coming from someone other than Phil, who was always in like financial debt due to his gambling habits, maybe they thought there were ulterior motives to Phil's ideas. But when you get the PGA collective to come together and they are able to do it, I think it's a score one for the PGA.
Yeah, and I'll say one last thing, and then I'll let Dennis have the final word on this. I think, like you said, this is definitely a move that the PGA had to make, and it was a good move for the PGA.
Yeah, it's a good move.
And I'm not, like I said, I don't care if I think that there's probably a 95% chance that the PGA ends up victorious over Live Golf. However, I at the same time, I also think it's fair to say that the PGA was sandbagging, and that they should have made these changes earlier, and that Live Golf, no matter what their backing is or whatever's going on, they might have had some legitimacy / points to what they were trying to do, and there's no shame. I mean, maybe there's a little shame.
Yeah, there's no shame in admitting
but
that
there's
Liv had some good ideas.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But maybe if at the PGA, maybe I'm a little ashamed that I didn't make these changes sooner because now I look like kind of horses behind. But it is what it is, and they had to make the move. Good for them. And the PGA, I mean, They got knocked down, as Dennis said. Now they're getting back. The PGA, they're fighting back. And there's all signs are pointing to that they'll still be around and they'll be just fine. Live Golf will more than likely, if I had to guess, even though I look like the Live defender on the show, I think there's like a 5% chance that they make it. However, I do like a good bit of drama, so I would like to see, this get, messy before it gets better, but, we'll see.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. And I think that's valid. I really do. I think those are some good points. The other thing I just was thinking about too, so it's kind of off topic, but Liv has like a carrying capacity because they have 42, 46
Correct.
golfers in their events, and only those play
Correct.
in all of those events, and they play the shotgun start and whatnot. There's no secondary tour. There's no a DP World Tour. They have no minor leagues of golf, and so when you bring in, at some point, you're bringing in guys, and you have to kick somebody else out.
Correct.
And then what does that person do? So like,
because they're not coming back to PGA.
Correct, because they've already been kicked out of the PGA, and so at some point, players are like, "Oh, I'm not going to risk getting kicked out of Live and losing my PGA card. I'm like completely underwater." So I think that will play out in time. We'll see how that goes, but it's just a food for thought is that there is a capacity to this because right now, Live is composed of some name brand guys, but a lot of the guys are just like easily replaceable. Like they weren't even making it on the PGA, so they can just get rid of them. But at some point, that's no longer the case. So just something to think about there. I do want to talk about the Rory and Tiger venture just for a brief moment. I know we went long on that, but this came out just a couple days ago, I think. Maybe even just a day
pretty
ago.
much a joint announcement with the PGA's announcements for the salaries and all those things.
Yep, it came out around the same time, and so I think it's interesting. I don't know a ton about it, but looking into it, it's basically planning to launch in January of 2024. So a little over a year from now. It'd be about 15 weeks of these virtual golf matches. It's like 18 holes of virtual golf.
3v3,
there is a team
right?
component. It's 3v3. There's 6 teams, and then they have some sort of playoff structure. I don't know all of the details of it, but essentially it is, Tiger has said, and this is probably the big thing, that he is going to participate. And so you get Tiger Woods without the strain on his body that walking 18 holes encompasses. And I would be lying if I wouldn't acknowledge that was probably a huge part of this was just like Tiger and the PGA saying, okay, people pay attention when Tiger plays. How can we get him to play more? We can't change his health. So why don't we just create a virtual golf thing?
And the golf off season, and you don't even have to walk the holes.
Correct. And Tiger can play, and, we can get, some of the other best players on the PGA behind it and really try to market these top players, get them in a, team competitive format. I don't know if it's going to work. It's clearly a direct response to what LIV has done because it's just trying to get more eyes on the game, and it's trying to just, distract people from what LIV is trying to become. I hope it works. I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily something that I'll tune into every week. I'll definitely give it a shot and see how it goes when that time comes in 2024. But, hats off to the PGA for trying to be innovative. I don't think it's going to come close to replicating an actual golf tournament for me personally. I was reading some of the interviews with, Rory and some of the other PGA guys. They were talking about it, and basically they're like, well, we're trying to, get younger eyes on the game because it's, involving much more technology and it's just more interesting for younger viewers. And maybe that's the case. It's just not gonna replace, walking around an 18-hole course and trying to put the ball in the hole. Not for me anyway. But hopefully it, can at least, if it brings some young eyes to the game, great. If it brings some attention back to the PGA Tour, that's a bonus for me too.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
one last line.
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll get into some college football talk.
And it's only one sentence. Tiger should have taken the 9-figure sum that LIV was offering. Thank you.
You cannot say that sentence and not expect me to talk about it. You can't. You cannot.
Quickly, Dennis,
I guess I
quickly. quickly, briefly.
Okay, well we'll do a separate video on this. We'll do a separate video on this.
I
Respect
disavow. I
Tiger.
Nine,
disavow Bobby's statement. I
nine,
disavow.
nine. Count
I
them.
disavow. I disavow. I
Bob,
don't care if it
disavow
was
that
I don't
statement.
care if it was 20 figures, Bobby. I don't care. He didn't sell out for the money. Respect the heck out of that guy. Love Tiger Woods, the GOAT. I don't count figures.
75% of people wouldn't have blamed him.
Bobby out here trying to
I
start
would have been 25%.
Bobby making inflammatory remarks as we're trying to move on into college football. Unbelievable.
Dude, I mean, $800 million,
Wait.
I mean, it's $800 million. What can I say?
I thought it was 9.
Oh, well, even more.
No, it was. I think it was 8.
Well,
Was
I
it
mean,
8?
come on. $800 million, I mean,
I think Tigers made plenty of money from Nike.
Correct.
True, but I mean, $800 million.
Bobby's just out here chasing dollar bills, and I just ain't about that.
Well, I mean, Tiger ain't gonna win anymore. Like, he's probably on the downslope.
He doesn't care. He doesn't
All right,
care
we
about
got- we got-
$800 million. He doesn't care about $800 billion.
We got,
It doesn't
we
matter.
got-
It's reputation, respect, and he has his reputation and his respect intact because of that. At
Arizona-
least for me.
Arizona, CMU, and
It's
Villanova.
not going to be good.
Arizona, CMU, and Villanova, those are the 3 schools that the 3 of us currently attend in our upper education, adventure here. Does anyone want to start by just, sort of going through how each of our respective teams will finish this season, and will there be playoff or bowl berths for the 2 FBS teams? Dennis, why don't you start us off with some Villanova talk briefly?
Yeah, I'll start because I don't have a lot. Villanova is 100% and will always be a basketball school. The football program had some success in the FCS last year. I think it went pretty deep. I don't actually really know because I didn't really follow it that much. And so I don't have a lot of comments on the Villanova football program. But I do live within a half a mile from the stadium, and I will be trying to attend some games this year. I know that I don't know if they play them this year. Last year they played Penn State over in University Park. So that was an interesting matchup because we held our own in the first half. I'm going to spend much more time on the University of Cincinnati just because it's an actual Division I program and there's a lot more to talk about for me. But I will. With that said,
what's just an offhand random record prediction for Villanova, Dennis?
They were pretty good last year. I'm going to go like 9-3. I think they're going to be
Okay.
I think last year they were like 10-2. So I don't see any reason to bump them down too much. So yeah, we'll go 9-3.
Sure thing. Bob, do you want me to take on Arizona, or do you want to tackle CMU first?
I'll tackle CMU, I suppose.
Sure.
I think it's going to be another relatively good year for the Chips. I mean, they did lose a lot of talent last season, and that just cannot be ignored. I mean, when you have none other than the offensive line loses some massive parts like Bernard Raymond and Luke Godecki, I believe is how you pronounce it. But
yeah, I think so.
To Tampa, it's going to be tough. But we still do have veteran quarterback
Khalil Pimpleton, currently with the Lions before cuts.
Correct.
Troy Brown transferred out, I believe, which is unfortunate.
Correct.
He was a big part of the defense.
But still got Daniel Richardson there, who was very effective in his time last season.
Rich.
We still got Joel Wilson though, who should be one of the best tight ends in.
And we're bringing back Lou Nichols too, right?
Yeah, we are bringing back
the NCAA's leading rusher.
Sweet Lou.
NCAA's leading rusher.
Nichols will be returning. Yeah, I think there's going to be some. I think there's going to be some obvious drop-offs. I think our defense could be suspect as much compared to last year. I mean, we lost a lot of people to transfer portal. They're just guys that went to bigger programs. So our linebackers are especially going to be a little bit weak. But plus we just had so much. I mean, we were just such a high range defense last year that it's hard to think that we'll replicate that. However, luckily the MAC drop off. This is just my own personal opinion speaking. The MAC drop off, and we might have dropped a little talent, but in terms of MAC standing, I don't really think that's going to result in us like flopping all the way to the bottom. I still think this is a bowl eligible team. I'm gonna go like optimistically. I'm gonna say like 8 wins for us. I think we've got
8 wins max.
8 wins, probably towards the high end. I mean, we've got 4 games already that I think are basically mark them off. Bucknell, South Alabama, Bowling Green. I think all those teams are pretty bad. Eastern Michigan we should beat. Akron we should beat. I mean, Buffalo's also not really that great in football either, so I mean, throw them in there. And then it just comes down to can we beat the Westerns? Can we beat
Toledo?
Can we beat Toledo? And that's going to be the difference. So.
Can they pull off the week 1 upset Thursday night against Oklahoma State?
It happened once. That's all I'm going to say. It happened once.
I mean, the midweek action. Crazier things have happened.
It happened once, and Kelly Shorts could be getting loose. For really first year back from COVID. So getting loose at Kelly Shorts. Beers will be flowing. The Coors Lights will be present and accounted for.
Throw them back, baby. Throw them back.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Bob. For those of you who don't know, the 3 of us all went to Central Michigan for our undergrad. So
fire up, baby.
Yeah, we're Chips at heart. So anytime we can see the Chips be bowl eligible, it's a good day to be a Central Michigan football fan. Arizona was not very good last year whatsoever. We did storm the field for our first win in like 2.5 years or something like that. It's been rough. It's been rough to be a Wildcat. But this year we should see some marked improvement. Not quite bowl eligible, I don't think. I think this is a team that probably tops out around 4 wins. But definitely should be better than Arizona State and definitely should be better than Colorado. Both of those programs are straight arse. And especially with all of like the sanctions Arizona State is getting, they're just not. And they're starting quarterback transfer out. Arizona State's got a lot of problems, and they're the armpit of the state of Arizona. So we'll see some improvement for the Wildcats, but I don't think we're going to quite reach that 6-win mark, not this year, but hopeful for Jed Fish being able to. He's been bringing in some talent, bringing in some transfers, bringing in 5-star wide receiver over the summer. So some playmakers are coming, but the roster was left in absolute shambles by Kevin Sumlin and Rich Rod. So we're gonna need a little bit of time, but anything less than 3 wins, I would say, would be a disappointment, and anything more than 4 wins would be a pleasant surprise. So you can see where my thoughts are for Arizona football. So yeah, I guess with that, Dennis, since me and Bob were a little more in-depth on Michigan State last week, we can turn the floor over to you. Will this be UC's last year in the American, or is next year the last year in the American? When does UC join the Big 12?
This is the last year in the American. So
Okay.
This is one final rodeo in the American Conference before things split up. At least I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure of that. Because then there's the year where we actually cross over with Texas and Oklahoma are still going to be in the Big
Right,
12.
because they leave 2024, right?
Because then they move the next year. So there actually is 1 year where the Big 12 will be the expansion plus Texas and Oklahoma will still be there, which it'll be big. And then they move to the SEC. But this is the last year in the American, so take it for what it's worth. The schedule is a little on the weaker side, especially if you listen to last week's episode and got to listen to all the Big Ten talk. It'll be especially weak. And I don't have to go through game by game, but I did kind of break down some of the changes because, obviously Cincinnati, surprising team last year, made the CFP and, the first non-Power 5 school to do so. which was really awesome and a big accomplishment. Obviously, lost in that semifinal game, but still an incredibly impressive year last year for Luke Fickle's squad. A lot of changes, though. I mean, I've mentioned him already on this show because he's a New York Jet. Sauce Gardner got drafted first round, fourth pick of the draft, which was pretty cool as a Bearcat fan, but it won't be as cool not watching him play this year because he basically was able to take a half of the field away on any given play because you just weren't throwing at him at that point. A couple other pieces that went for the NFL, obviously quarterback Desmond Ridder with Atlanta now. Alec Pierce, receiver, is in Indianapolis. A lot of people have him as a breakout candidate to be second fiddle to Michael Pittman this year. Along with a couple other guys that weren't as impactful. There was a safety who was pretty good, Brian Cook. Looks like he's in Kansas City this year. So, yeah, definitely some key departures. But on the bright side, Luke Fickle's done a really good job recruiting for this team. So there's some unknowns in terms of guys that haven't gotten a lot of experience, but there's a lot to be hopeful for. Right now, the big thing in camp has been the QB competition. So they basically have two guys really dueling it out, Ben Bryant and Evan Prater. And I know, forgive me, I know you guys like to make fun of the names from the American and UC, and I remember doing
Those
a
guys sound
podcast
like
before.
bums.
What are these names? What are these names? I'm gonna be throwing a lot of what are these names at you probably, but
Do those guys sound like bums to you, Bob?
I'll hear a few more names.
Okay.
no, you don't even need to hear some more names because you're gonna say this guy's a bona fide bum after I tell you this next fact. Ben Bryant, a redshirt senior this year. Guess where he started last year, boys? Wild guess.
Austin P.
Tulane.
Eastern Michigan.
Oh, bum. Grade A
Ben
bum.
Bryant. Here's the thing. He sat 3 seasons behind Desmond Ridder at UC, decided he was done with that garbage, and could start at Eastern Michigan, had a pretty successful year, and then transferred back when Desmond went to the NFL.
Did they have a bowl berth last year?
Oh, I don't even know. I didn't look up what Eastern did. I looked up some of his stats, but I didn't look up what Eastern did. I'm imagining. Wait, didn't all of the Michigan schools make a bowl?
Oh, they might have.
I think so.
They might have. I think so.
It was like
I think
all
so.
of the Division I schools made a bowl. So yeah, Eastern made a bowl even. I mean, there you go, right there. Ben Bryant, and I think if based on what I've been hearing, I think he's probably going to win the job. He just has more experience. He's started Division I football games. He got into a couple of games with Cincinnati during his 3 years. He started like 12 games for Eastern last year. And opposed to the other main guy, Evan Prater, is redshirt sophomore, hasn't played a snap of Division I football. Really dynamic player, really athletic. I think he was a 4-star. He really likes to make plays with his feet and get outside the pocket. A little inaccurate with some of his throws, but he's trying to work on his passing quite a bit. And I just don't think they're going to, go that route initially, given the lack of experience. But we'll see. At least all indications from the coaching staff is no decision's been made. I think they're probably going to continue with that rhetoric even after one's made all the way through the opener with Arkansas, is to not show their hand in any way because the styles are very different. I just talked about Evan Prater being outside the pocket, dynamic, trying to make plays with his feet. Ben Bryant is a strong-armed pocket passer. Like, he just wants to sit in the pocket and throw it deep. So very different styles. And that's another reason I think that Bryant was probably come away with it, actually, is because the receiving core has so much speed. There should be a lot of speed in the receiver group. And so it just makes a lot of sense to have a guy with some arm strength and also with a little more accuracy. But we'll see what they do. Secondary is probably one of the main concerns just because they lost Cook, and Gardner is a huge blow, and you just can't replace the kind of attention that offenses had to pay him and the respect they had to show him. So that's going to be difficult to replace. Running back's another interesting area of the team because they lost Jerome Ford, and he put up quite a bit of production for him. There's a couple of guys stepping in. They have a guy from LSU that was almost committed to Cincinnati and then decided to go to LSU and then transferred back to Cincinnati. And then there's also a kid that I grew up kind of watching the end of his. I didn't grow up. I saw him at the end of his high school career because he was at a high school really close to me and ended up going to UC. Ryan Montgomery, and he definitely has some potential to step in. Running back's going to probably be more of a committee for UC, and all of that, all of that to really say there's a lot of unknowns around this team this year. Definitely not going to, I don't think, reach the expectations set last year. I mean, how could you expect that again? Just with the season they had, it was incredible. But I do think that they put together quite a few wins. I think, if anything, they start a little slower. I mean, it's just a lack of experience and just not having all of the same pieces that have meshed quite the same way for the last, 4 years as everything's come together for the team that they had last year. But I still think it's really strong, especially in this conference. Should be a favorite to win the American, and I think they probably lose to Arkansas week 1. That's going to be a fun ranked matchup, and then after that, I don't really see a game that they lose again. It could happen, of course, but I would say that they might take a little bit of a lump early, and then look for UC to clean up the American. That's my prediction for the season.
I bet they
Also,
lose to ECU.
No chance. No chance the Pirates are doing anything. I did want to mention this too, though, in case you haven't seen it, because I'm more in tune with the Cincinnati news, and it was more of a local thing. One of the receivers from Cincinnati, Tyler Scott, had probably one of the best interviews from like a college football practice that we've had in years. He was talking about how he's into candles and different candle scents. I don't know if you guys saw this at all, but he was like talking about how he goes to Bath and Body Works all the time. He's talking about like eucalyptus mint, and it was just golden. Like, this guy is like so charismatic, and he was being like dead serious. Definitely go check that out. It's hilarious, but also it's so genuine. It's just like, how can you not like that guy?
Bob, your thoughts on the candle sniffer Cincinnati Bearcats?
Yeah. Eucalyptus mint is going to bring the Bearcats to victory. Bobby, your thoughts?
Right down the tube for the Bearcats. I myself am also going to be pulling for the Green Wave / ECU / anyone.
They don't know the candles, Bob. They don't know all the candles.
They
can't. They have no
done.
chance.
And if you have to start the guy from Eastern Michigan, good luck. You're in trouble.
Correct.
He wasn't bad for Eastern Michigan, but zoinks. I mean, if you can't recruit anybody else to step in at Cincinnati when you just made it to this college football playoff at quarterback, I mean,
well, we made it because we had Desmond Ridder for 4 straight years.
I mean, yeah, but you should have had somebody in the wings ready to come in this year. And it sounds like the guy. Sounds like the guy.
You might win the job.
Sounds like the guy that you had is inaccurate and going to be looking like to bring a reference that Derek will understand. John O'Corn out there and just absolutely wet the bed.
So you got UC going 11-1, Dennis. Is that good enough to get into the college football playoff?
No, but not with our only loss being against the only ranked team we play now. I think it's good enough to win the American and probably reach a New Year's Six, I would think, but not the CFP.
You don't think Houston's going to get you, Dennis?
I don't.
Could Houston get you?
No.
What about UCF?
Because we don't play them until a little bit. The Knights are doing nothing. Don't worry about
the Pirates.
I mean, what about? I thought you were going to bring up Indiana, and that was a freaking wash last year. We absolutely crushed them.
No, they're worse.
Dog water. Yeah, Indiana got worse. They're going to be staying.
Yeah, because they lost. Was it Michael Penix or whatever that guy's name was?
He's now in Washington.
They just won the job.
Bob will get to see him in UW week 1.
Yeah, he just won the
Ain't
job.
Right.
Yeah, not week 1, but.
Yeah, okay. Week 2? Was it week 2?
Week 3.
Week 3. Man, you guys got
Western and Zippy.
You can check out the week 1 UC Arkansas game on ESPN next Saturday. Not week 0, week 1 Saturday.
I think the Razorbacks could be running all.
Dennis, I think people are probably going to be tuning into Ohio State, Notre Dame, but
well, that's not until like 7. Watch
Well,
pregame with UC. Pregame with the other team in Ohio that's relevant.
I don't know why they don't play each other.
we'll get into the weekend slate in the next episode. We don't. Well,
Yeah,
probably because Luke Fickle doesn't want to get embarrassed by his,
Because
alma
they know
mater.
that one loss would set them out of the entire thing from the start.
Correct. But yeah, we'll get into that'll be one big thing to look at for next week's episodes. We'll preview some of the big games, maybe do our own little mini college game day sort of prediction set.
Yeah.
But before we get into everyone's favorite segment that we all know and love, the Right Bench Baller, our fantasy baseball playoffs have started as of Monday this week. And none other than two of your favorite co-hosts, Derek and Bobby, are facing off this week. Dennis also has a matchup with one of his friends from back home. Bob, can we get your thoughts on the state of the Stephen Kwan fan club through Thursday's games, and how are you feeling as you've got about a week and a half left to try and defeat me?
The white flag, folks, is coming out because it's dire straits right now for the Stephen Kwan fan club. I mean, it's right now. I mean, it's 6-3 right now through Thursday. Respectable margin. At the very least. But here's the deal: when you have 4 hits in a day being like the high for your team, you're just not going to go too far anywhere. One dong through 4 days. I'm getting a barf bag as we speak for that kind of stat line. And, potentially the most grotesque thing about the whole entire experience is that when you have all of your A-grade closers come in non-safe situations and then absolutely wet the bed and give up like 5 runs combined and completely sink
and
you.
3 homers.
And 3 homers and completely sink me in both the home run and ERA category. Well, the ERA is not over, but, it set me back. And so, I hate to admit it, but I do have to admit it. My team is nowhere near good enough to compete in the playoffs.
You can't say that, Bobby. You can't say it. You got to believe.
But we're going to milk this ship for every... we're going to milk this cow for every last drop. And we're going to try to take this baby to the promised land. And you better bet we're going to pull out everything that we can. All 10 acquisitions will be used if needed.
The trick plays, Bobby. The trick plays could be in order. Fantasy baseball trick plays.
Get this ship over the top and just staying on the league that I even made it in the first place. If people would have checked lineups, they would have beat me out. However, the fact of the matter is I traded the farm. I traded the farm to Dennis. At least, Dennis made the playoffs, although I did beat him
for the great reward of 1 spot ahead of you in the playoffs.
I mean, that's just really the true disaster of the season. But
because everybody got hurt.
I mean, that is true. That is true. Everybody did get hurt through no fault of my own. However,
he knew. Fake-ass doctors, as J.K. Dobbins would say.
I mean, I think that it's no surprise to anybody that Derek's team is absolutely marching towards a title contention this year. I mean, Derek's team is probably the team to beat in the league, and I
appreciate that.
And I am like the bottom of the barrel. I'm the last seed that made it in. So right now, it's dire straits. However, hope is, although not very high, not all gone. And so 10 acquisitions will be used if need be, and any help in the comment section on how to write the ship would be appreciated because we could use anything that we can get right now.
Dennis, Bobby told me something interesting Sunday night.
Right.
He told me in nothing short of, are you ready to beat Derek this playoff matchup? That's what Bob told me. You told him Sunday night as you were, cleaning up your victory against me, which was well-deserved. But Dennis, do you have any thoughts on, the trash talk
He better be pulling for the fan club. Is all I gotta say.
backstab that you didn't have the balls to say to my face in our group chat?
You meantime, I'll say it to your face. I,
Are
Stephen
you scared,
Kwan
Dennis?
fan club.
Are you scared?
Stephen Kwan fan club, rise up. I mean, it's just time. I mean, 2-week matchup. Derek's reign of terror is over, and just sit him down.
Dennis, are you scared? Are you
I
scared
mean,
that you'd
no,
have to face
nobody
me in the
scares me.
playoffs?
Nobody scares me.
Except the
Everybody
fan
should be
club.
afraid of Trey Mancini and Kyle Schwarber who've been munching. I mean, that's what you should be afraid of. And I mean, that's just the fact of the matter.
And
I'm not concerned.
Johnny Cueto, if you're watching this, which you're probably not, I need you to shove like no other tomorrow, because the first step in the fan club's master plan to come back is you absolutely going 8 innings.
You'll have to clip this. You'll have to clip this part and tag Johnny Cueto and be like, Johnny, please,
Dude,
I'm
yes.
begging you, please go 8 innings, 12 Ks, and save me
All
we need is like 6 and 2 earned. All we need is like 6 innings 2 earned. That's
here's the thing with Johnny: 10 consecutive quality starts. However, I checked his last 5 or 6 starts, and none of them had more than 4 Ks. So, and that was 8 innings of work. So, Johnny's not going to be sitting anybody down with the strikeout. However, there's something to be said for the ground ball. And they all count 1, baby, and we're going to take them.
Correct. Yeah, me and Bobby typically have very respectful playoff matchups. Dennis sometimes gets a little loose and talks a big game.
Yeah,
but
Dennis...
me and Bob likes to keep things respectful. We like to, root for at least a respectable matchup while still hoping that we come out on top, in our own minds.
I won't run from it.
And Bob has, been the largest supporter of my team all season. He's had more confidence in my team than I have many times this season. So it's only right that I am finally confident in my team. And, we've got a great lineup: Austin Riley, Freddie Freeman, Jose Altuve, George Springer, Luis Robert, Wilson Contreras, practically fielding an all-star team. And so it would be extremely unfortunate to lose to Bob since he sold the farm. But we're hoping and praying that we don't all of a sudden go ice cold as we've done a couple times this season. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good.
I will say this, and there's one thing that Dennis, if he's rooting for the fan club, can get behind, is that the fan club loves to operate from the underdog mentality. And this would be the greatest story ever told if the fan club was to rise up off the team that we traded our very best player to just this season. And so don't rule us out. We will, single by single, we will claw our way back into this matchup and hopefully make you sweat just a little bit. And
I mean, here's the thing. A third of my team was previously in your starting lineup. A third of my starting lineup has come from you.
And all of my IR and released players came from you. So that's why I can no longer be rooting for the fan club. Actually, upon second consideration, the fan club is out. Derek is in. I mean, I can't endorse a guy who sold his entire team, made the playoffs, and sold his entire team to me, and they all got injured and aren't even helping me. And he has
where's
every
Tyler
single
Stevenson
draft pick that he
Michael
possibly could look for. All dropped because they went on the season-ending IL two hours after I traded for him. I mean, look at the time. I gotta pull up the timestamps. It's ridiculous.
But Dennis, Andres Jimenez is healthy.
Andres Jimenez is a joke.
Is no longer on Dennis's team.
Also no longer on my team because he's still not good.
He was an all-star.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's a good player, not a good fantasy player. I don't even know. Where's he at right now?
He's on Wyatt's team.
Okay, well, thank you for
God bless him.
thank you, my brother. Yeah, God bless my brother for picking up an all-star. I mean, you got to respect him for that. But
I mean, Dennis, how
yeah,
much better would your team be if Brian Reynolds was on your team and not on Bob's team?
I mean, leaps and bounds better, Derek. Leaps and
I mean,
bounds.
we'll
I
let the
mean,
comment
Michael
section.
Brantley.
We'll let the comment section decide who won that trade. Bob traded Gavin Lux and
We don't need a comic section.
Nothing.
We don't need.
nothing
I
else
concede.
for Brian Reynolds and what round pick? 6? 4th?
4.
A 4th round pick and Brian Reynolds for Gavin Lux. And then Gavin
was
Lux
gross.
was dropped within 2 weeks of acquiring him.
Completely botched that one. Big time.
I will
bunk
say,
on that one.
if you want to go see all the trades that I made, and then 5 of them with Dennis, I will put a link to the video that I made about that in the
Yeah,
description.
Bobby did an excellent video on that. He did.
You know, it actually
Very
did kind of pop off, if I do say so myself. So do check it out if you want to hear about all the trades Dennis and I made. I do refer to Dennis as the well when it comes to fantasy baseball.
I believe
trading.
he ranked like all of the trades he made with me like A's, and then all the others were like B's and C's. But like all the ones with me were like A's.
No, I gave the one with Kenny, one of them with Kenny an A. But
okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well,
I digress.
we won't spend too much, we won't spend any more time talking about our fantasy baseball team. Dennis, do you got anything to say about your matchup with Shane Rose?
No, he's going down. That guy doesn't know anything about baseball, and I hope he's listening to this. Love you, Shane.
Dennis, there's no love in the fantasy baseball playoffs.
Shane,
only war and hatred.
No, it's sarcastic love.
Shane, if you are listening
sarcastic.
to this right now, Dennis said he hates logic and he disavows him, and so therefore you need to take action against him immediately.
44 More is the worst song ever made. Wrist shouldn't exist. Still ball and wear. I mean, it's garbage.
More like stay losing. That's Shane's motto.
Oh!
Now time to get to everyone's favorite segment that we all know and love, the right bench baller. Dennis, how about you start us off with your right bench baller of the week?
Well, Derek, I would love to, and I think that this is going to be our first dip into the National Football League for the season. I went to NFL preseason just because I thought that this was particularly interesting. I imagine you guys have seen this, I would think. We had... Where is it at? Hold on, just give me 1 second.
Oh, no.
Kevontae Turpin.
Yes.
Kevontae Turpin.
Yes. Great pick.
Dallas Cowboys receiver/returner who had a kick return of 98 yards and a punt return of 86 yards, both to the house. I mean, how many times do you have to return a kick in a single game to make the roster? I mean, this guy is like exploding onto the scene as a dynamic playmaker. He had a great preseason game. I wish the best for him. Hope he can make the roster. I mean, that's just impressive. Like, nobody does that.
When's the last time someone had a kick return touchdown and punt return touchdown in the same game?
I don't know. I really don't. Probably Devin Hester?
Maybe. Go ahead, Bob.
Turpin was actually the USFL MVP. And so he is now getting a chance for the Dallas Cowboys in training camp, and he's almost certain to make a roster. I mean, if not only for special teams ability, it's the fact that the Cowboys are extremely thin at wideout, and so
they are thin at receiver,
and so they could use him. I've heard chats of him being used as a jet sweep / slot kind of guy, but he's got extremely good returner ability, and he ran a bunch of kicks back to the house in the USFL. If anybody watched that.
Yeah, the clips, I didn't watch much USFL, but the clips from the preseason game with the Chargers where those returns, very impressive, very electric.
Okay, so this has happened before. Would anyone like to guess the year?
2006.
I'm guessing I'm off with Hester, so I'm going to say, I'm going to go back I'm going to say like 95.
Bob was the closest. It was 2013.
Oh, okay.
Dante
Does anyone?
Hall.
It was not Dante Hall. Does anyone have a guess for the team?
Uh,
You got a one
was
in
it
32 chance.
Detroit
the
Lions.
only thing I'm really thinking of is what's his name with Cleveland? Was it Cleveland?
Yeah. Are you thinking of Josh Cribbs?
Cribbs, yes, Josh Cribbs. Thank you. Yes,
Your guess,
but I'm
Bob?
guessing I'm wrong.
I have no guess.
You didn't.
Oh,
Did
team?
you say it?
I said
Yeah,
the
team.
Lions.
It was the Lions.
No
Did,
way.
Bob,
2013.
did you have prior knowledge?
No, but I did remember that the Lions had some pretty decent return men over the years.
They did. It was Jeremy Ross, December 8th, 2013,
Wow.
against the Philadelphia Eagles. Look at
Wow,
Bob.
wow, wow. There
Look
you
at
go.
Bob nailing the Detroit Lions.
Don't call me a
you know,
fake fan. Don't call me a fake fan.
Bob, I guess your prize for, being such a fantastic guesser, why don't you give us your right bench baller next?
Well, I mean, it would be my pleasure. Truly a feel-good story here with my right bench baller. This is a guy that had been playing. He's just got into the majors for the Nationals. Now played 19 games, but he's been playing about 12 seasons, if I'm looking at this correctly on Baseball Reference, in working through the minors. High, low A, about 4 different organizations. Finally turned 30 years old and is now finally getting his first chance to step on the big league field. So congratulations to none other than Joey, and I hope I pronounced this right, Meneses, of the Washington Nationals, first baseman and outfielder. But the man has been absolutely, in his 19 games of opportunity that he's got, he has been absolutely raking for the Nats. Putting up 6 dongs, 324 batting average, 24 hits, and only 74 at bats. So nothing to slouch at from Joey so far. And good enough to get a roster spot on the Stephen Kwan fan club, I'll tell you that. And they don't even have his picture uploaded to the fantasy website. That's how unknown this guy is. But he has been productive, and we appreciate having him on the squad. But congratulations to Joey for finally getting your opportunity after a long time coming, and hope it keeps up for you, man.
Yeah, there's been a couple really good feel-good call-up stories. Wynton Bernard of the Colorado Rockies, that was a pretty good one from a couple weeks ago. The video went viral of him calling his mom when he got the call up. So some pretty good feel-good stories. That's one of the nice things about post-trade deadline MLB baseball. Not only do you have September call-ups coming up really pretty soon, but teams will trade guys away, and now they have a chance to bring up some of their guys from AAA, give them a shot at making the roster, seeing what they got. So you get quite a few of these feel-good stories in August and September. So as soon as I heard Washington Nationals, Bob, I knew where you were going. And perhaps you know where I'm going with the Tampa Bay Rays. None other than Harold Ramirez. Harold has been absolutely lighting it up, not only for me, or not only for the Tampa Bay Rays, but for me in fantasy baseball against Bobby. Harold Ramirez has, in his past 6 games, hits in every single game, 2 multi-hit games. He has a total of 8 RBI in the past 6 games. And in his past 3 games, he's had 3 RBIs, 2 RBIs, and 1. So we're hoping for Harold for a big day tomorrow. Maybe he'll give us 4 RBIs, keep the streak going. He's hitting 331 on the year, and he's just getting it done. Getting it done when we need it most. Harold Ramirez, thank you for your production and for your service. You're going to be my right bench baller for the week. Thank you. Your thoughts, Bob, on Harold running you amok?
I mean, only in fantasy baseball could Derek not get the man he wants off waivers and go and get a better guy.
Correct.
Oh, no.
I had Vaughn Grissom, recent, phenom for the Atlanta Braves. He's played in about, I don't know, 15, 20 games at this point himself. I had dropped him, was hoping to pick him back up. Bob snuck in a waiver claim on me, picked him up, and so I said, well, I guess I'll pick up Harold Ramirez, and he's done nothing but produce for me. So thank you, Harold. Uh, you've been an absolute, bright light in the darkest moments. Bob, you want to take us away into our next and final segment?
Of course, we've got Garbage Time Takes Your Money. And do we have a recap from last week prepared?
We do. So we had the Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati preseason game. And Dennis, I'm sure you remember. Wait, is that what we had?
Or did we not even do one last week?
I say Pittsburgh Cincinnati is not a preseason game.
That's football. We were doing baseball. That's where my confusion came from. I thought 7.5.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because we gave Dennis an automatic pick for him not being there.
Correct. So,
probably it.
That was last Thursday, right? So that would have been for
Friday's
the 19th.
Game, probably.
It would have been for Friday's game. The Pirates won 5-4, naturally. And the over-under was 7.5, and Cincinnati was favored. Me and Bobby both took the over and Pittsburgh, both of which hit. And we gave Dennis the under and the Reds, both of which flopped. So kudos to me and Bobby for going 2-0 for Garbage Time Takes Your Money. Hope there were some people out there that rode with us. So, Bob, what do you got for this weekend?
A little bit of a change of pace, but we got some NCAA football coming up for us. Nothing, I mean...
Week 0, baby.
Week 0. I mean, not as close of a matchup as we normally do, but I thought it would be important to get a new breath of air in there with a football game. So, we're going to go with Nebraska versus Northwestern, sticking in the Big Ten, as is near and dear to Derek and I's heart. The line is currently Nebraska minus 12.5 and minus 490 on the money line for Nebraska. And the over-under is at 50.5 points for this game. So minus 490 Nebraska with a minus 12.5 spread towards them as well, with a 50.5 over-under. So, I mean, clearly Nebraska's the favorite, but what are you guys thinking?
Bob, can you tell us where the game is located?
The game is
located. I was gonna say
the game is located in Evanston. It is at Northwestern.
Bob,
at Northwestern.
No,
it's somewhere else.
It's in Ireland.
Ireland?
They're playing in Ireland.
I guess I didn't know
the
that.
Irish.
Guess I didn't know that.
Irish.
Yes, so they're playing in Ireland. Why they chose Nebraska and Northwestern, the armpit of the Big Ten, to go play nationally televised in Ireland week 0, I do not know. But yes, it's in Ireland, Bob. So that's what makes this game so special.
I see. I definitely did not know that.
Yeah, well, that's all right. That's what you got me and Dennis here as your co-hosts for. I guess I'll start it off. Nebraska, potentially the greatest 3-win team of all time last year. I'm pretty sure like 8 of their 9 losses, or maybe all 9, were by single digits, one score. I'm going to take Nebraska. Northwestern is going to be pretty garbage this year. I think they won, 1 or 2 games last year with Pat. Big Pat Fitzgerald fan, but Northwestern football just isn't in a competitive state right now. So give me Nebraska. Oh, the over-under's tough. 50.5 points. I don't even know if Northwestern can score 14 points. But since it's in Ireland and, life's too short to take the under, give me the over.
Yeah, well, I'm just surprised that somebody didn't make me go first this time because, I mean, unfortunately, I'm also got to take Nebraska in this one. I don't know much about either of these teams, but just gut instinct and just what I know from last year, Nebraska is just a little bit better than Northwestern. Northwestern's just not very good. The over-under tough because I was immediately wanting to go to the over, but when it's that high, I don't know. Maybe we got some jet lag factoring in. You know, I don't know what it is. Typically, I would think that these first couple of matchups are pretty high scoring, going to go over, but I think this is pretty well priced. I might this might be a stay away, but if I had to make a pick, I think I'm still going to go with the over. It's just not a lot of defense in this first matchup. That's what I anticipate. Nebraska in the over.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to be the guy that goes Nebraska too, even though I really want to say Northwestern because I would much rather have them win than Nebraska. However, I'm going to go with the under on this one. Not really
Thought about it.
Not really feeling much offense from either Nebraska nor Northwestern in this. Northwestern's offense definitely doesn't scare me at all. And Nebraska, I mean, they haven't proven diddly squat. So I'm going with the under. Although I will say, compared to some other games I'm seeing for the futures, this game might be more appropriately priced on the over-under because a lot of them are much higher than this, but it's also two pretty bad teams, should I say, that are playing. So, but I guess that could go either way. You could either say there's going to be a lot of offense or there could be a lot of defense with two bad teams. So, no, gonna ride with the under on this one just to give us a little spice of life here. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up everything that we've got planned for the pod today. I guess I'll just do our shout outs for our social medias. So we have at Garb Time Takes on Twitter and Garbage Time Takes on Instagram, as well as the website, which we're continuing to post articles on. Derek just came out with a new article, which you can also find the links to those, as I've always posted them on our Instagram and Twitter pages. But also you'll find the link to the website directly in the description of this video. Please do your best to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing, and share it with a friend. Really, our goal is to try to get one of these pods to 50 views. We've made it over halfway there in a good chunk of them. So, sharing it with a friend would really mean a lot to us if we get over that hump. So, anyone else have anything to add as we finish off here?
Yeah. If you don't like this video, it means you're not a Steve Nash supporter. And we just can't have that. We're Steve Nash podcast here, and Katie is a snake. So that's all I got.
I don't think I have anything.
Dennis, can we count on you to be here next week?
100%.
Or will you bail again?
If you bail again, then the background is definitely coming back.
I will say that background was incredible. The background was incredible. I mean, but yeah, that was well done. Hats off. I mean, that more than I could have ever hoped for right there. That was beautiful. I felt really a part of the whole process. I really
Good.
Good. We're glad to hear that, Dennis. Well, Bob, thanks for taking
Speaking of feeling a part of the whole process, actually, we got to come up with a name for our listeners and make it all the way to the end.
Well, maybe we could have done that last week, Dennis, if you were here.
Come on, that was too quick. That was too quick thinking. I don't like that.
Yeah, I get. Well,
suggestions in the comments.
Leave your suggestions in the comments. I think garbage men and women is still the leading candidate that Bob came up with. So
if you don't want to be called the garbage men and women, then leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel, and make us change it, because otherwise it's just going to be what it is.
Correct. Well, thanks for plugging the socials while I had to step out, Bob. Without further ado, thanks again, everyone, so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And that'll do it for us. See you next week for next week's episode. So in 3,
2, 1, peace.